Alexandrian, founder of AtoZ Communications, and this is the Brand Stories podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to branding. This week's guest is Karen Chalmers, the Vice President of Marketing and Partnerships at Interval. Interval is known for helping small and medium-sized businesses grow their AUM thanks to insights that they gain from the system. Among the interesting things that Karen and I discussed is that Interval speaks to a variety of different kinds of clients, from accountants to wealth managers and banks. So how does one speak to all of those groups, or does one separate out the language for each of those? We'll hear from Karen how she manages that. I'm so excited to have you on. So you guys have been doing some great marketing and branding work, and I feel like that bleeds very well into Brand Stories. So thank you for doing this.
My gosh, thank you for having me, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Anytime. It's well deserved. So first question is, what's your favorite brand and why?
Yeah, maybe this is showing the parent in me a bit, but Lego. Lego is an incredible brand. One of the key things I think that they've always done is they've always stayed true to their roots of like creativity for children and how that builds into good creativity as adults. But what I love about their brand is that it's so playful because it lives within their brand promise of creativity, and that they can make fun of themselves as well. I mean, how on earth was a brick company ending up as a huge mega box office movie? But in their second version, Maya Rudolph steps on the Lego bricks and it's like the parenting nightmare of every Lego brick you step on. And they're playful enough to make fun of themselves in that moment. And that's something that I think that they understand their community well. They understand the growth that's had and the virality of like everybody understands that pain of Lego bricks stepping on them and all that kind of stuff. So they've grown well with the trends over the years. Obviously, all the mashups that they've had and the collaborations they've had with different other brands. And then, of course, they lean into that, like, yes, you can make your own kit or you can create whatever you want. So they give you kits of just colors, or you can show your fandom and build like the Death Star or something like that. So it's very, it allows for both sides of kind of planned creativity as well as like free form creativity. And they lean into that so hard. It's so beautiful. And even when you think about the getting ready scene in the Lego movie, it's such a great moment where he's like, okay, well, I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to breathe. And he like bends his whole body backwards to breathe, right? Like just so playful. And like, they're like, oh, this is going to bend your ideas to what you can do with the creativity. I'm not going to necessarily just breathe. I'm going to bend my whole body backward and breathe, right? The other thing that I love is that they obviously listen to their users very well because they've created that little tool that allows you to unhook two Legos together. It's a kind of great experience as a user. It's playful, it's creative, it maintains its true brand promise. So I think it's such a great brand.
Absolutely. I loved a lot of that. Just went to Legoland the first time earlier this year, and so learned that this is the official wave.
Yes.
Makes sense given the U-shaped hand that everybody has. But you're totally right about the playfulness. Even those rides that you experience, they're more interactive than like a Disney World, for instance, where it's a little more seated. You take it in versus I'm going to fly the magical cart that goes around.
Yeah. It's very much about the experience for them. And I think it goes back to that. Let's be playful, let's be creative, and then let's kind of build the world together. What an incredible thought. So absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. Good pick. So as far as Interval and your work there, if you don't mind just introducing anybody who's not familiar, and if you're not, you should get to know them, by the way, what you guys are doing and how you do it.
Yeah. So Interval, it was based on the idea that like business owners should understand the value of their business. That was kind of like our promise. Basically what we do is we sell our product to wealth advisors, accounting, and banks to allow them to understand their business owner users better, and also to understand the value of their business and the opportunities that lie within it, because 98% of business owners don't know how much their business is actually worth. 85% of the wealth sits within the business. So when you don't know how much you're worth and 85% of your wealth sits there, and then you plan your wealth plan around that,
Yeah.
and you don't actually know this is a real number, you're making a plan based on falsities.
Yes.
So it's allowing your wealth advisor to really hook into the underlying wants of a business owner client, because
Mhm.
like, yeah, sure, we could talk about the market and all that kind of stuff, but what bothers them day to day is their business. So if you can be proactive as a wealth advisor to really kind of say, hey, like, look, let's take a look at deeper dive into your business. Let's see what opportunities lie within it and where we can grow, so that when you are ready to retire, and this is not a conversation you have like 6 months before retirement, you should be having this 10 years before retirement. When you're ready to retire, where do you need to be? Where do you want it to be? And how are we going to get you there together?
Mhm.
And then, as an advisor, we're showing you, excess working capital or different insurance opportunities. Because,
Mhm.
if you don't know how much your business is worth, are you properly insured for it? That
Yeah.
could be a catastrophic problem at some point and you don't even know it. We're really kind of unlocking valuable interactions for wealth advisors. And then in turn, we're democratizing business valuation for business owners, because traditional business valuation, most people are only going to do that at the sale of a business
Yes.
or in a divorce circumstance or whatever, right? And a certified business valuation has its time and place,
Sure.
but you don't need it every year to understand your projection and your growth. And that's what Interval is here to bridge that gap and to actually show business owners and their advisors, where you are now and where you could be going and how to get there along the way.
That's hugely valuable. So, how have you seen the growth in your tool? Because even as I'm looking around, whether it's LinkedIn or just anecdotally in the ecosystem, it seems like so many more financial advisors are working with, whether it's business owners or solopreneurs. So, it seems like that's really evolving.
Well, and I think the thing is that we're all recognizing that this great transfer of wealth is happening, and like trillions and trillions of those dollars are sitting within businesses. So we want to make sure that we are actually capturing that client earlier in their process. So I think that's why it's become such a hot topic. But where we're really seeing advisors in general kind of looking at the holistic plan, like
Mhm.
it's holistic planning is such a buzzword, but you really should be looking at the whole plan. And if you're not looking at the whole package, like I was talking to somebody, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, they just said that my business was just kind of like fun money. It's like, well, actually, it should be more than that, right? Like it should be, it's not funny money, it's your wealth.
Yeah.
And that's part of the whole plan. It's not just what am I investing into the market today? It's like, where could I be investing the money when I'm done with it? Or if I have a long-term relationship with my advisor and we're talking about my business the whole time, well, who am I going to turn to when I am actually looking for an M&A transaction? So it's actually that proactive planning with our advisor that we should be like, oh, you've taken care of me all along, I'm not going to go to anybody else. So it's actually retaining your client as well. I think that's one of the reasons why it's become such a hot topic, but it's so important to not neglect that part of a business owner's journey in wealth.
I can't even imagine. Like, I mean, granted, I am not a financial advisor. So, on the one hand, who am I to judge? And on the other hand, for someone to just say, like, the business is just, spending money, like, excuse me, what? What are you doing with the rest of your life that's just spending? I don't
Right.
understand.
Yeah. Well, and I think they were kind of looking at it as, well, we can't predict, right?
Mm,
Where with the market, I can say, oh, well, I know how these investments have done in the past or whatever. I can look
right.
at the past and say, well, we can expect that it can do like this. But yes, traditionally you couldn't predict how much a business is going to be worth. But when you do a certified valuation, what happens in a certified valuation is that you're looking at comparables, you're looking at the industry, you're looking at the holistic business, and then you kind of say, okay, well, here's what it's worth. But it's also all kinds of other stuff that comes out, key ratios and understanding non-operating assets and excess working capital and all that kind of stuff, right? So when you actually look at the business from that point of view, as opposed to just, I can't predict what it's going to do today, well, that's why, right? So that's why people just were ignorant to that. But with a tool like Interval, you can actually have actions that you can take with your business owner to make it a more proactive relationship. And we know that relationships are the thing that matter the most in this business, right?
Absolutely.
Financial planners, their relationships are the most important thing that they're holding on to. And so we want to make sure that you're actually, as a financial planner, you're building a strong relationship with your business owner clients and really taking good care of them.
So to that point, it seems like both within the financial advice industry and then elsewhere, we see this succession issue where people are thinking about it, like you said, if you want to retire at 65, you're thinking about it at like 63 or so, versus having a plan when you're 50 so that you know how you're going to get there. So do you feel like it's just a lack of using your tool or a lack of planning, or like how have we gotten to this place?
Well, I think probably, you know, historically speaking, a lot of times like either businesses got handed down to family members or they just stopped being in business. And
Yeah.
now you're finding that more people are like, oh wait, I can hand it down to my kid, or I can sell it, or I can maybe sell it to the employees, right? Like there's lots of different options, and people are thinking about this more, and more people are getting into business with this may not be my only thing in life too, right? I'm going to do this for a while and then I'm going to sell it and then I'm going to go and have a really cool retirement, right? As opposed to working until you're 80 as a business owner, which I think a lot of people, the greatest generation is a good example of like people who just did that. Like they didn't retire out or they just died on the job. And then what happens if you don't have a plan in place there? Oof. So I think about like boomers are kind of at that cusp. They're like, oh, wait, I've actually made some pretty good money in this business. Now what, right? Now I have to think about like what I'm going to be leaving as my legacy. And that legacy could not necessarily be that my kid wants to take it over, because like millennials may not be interested in their parents' business. So I think that's part of it. And then, we have more information too now. We have so much information available to us, and to not know that information feels weird.
Yes, it does. A very good point. So, how would you describe the marketing and the branding at Interval? So, how did you guys come up with all this, and how has it been evolving throughout the business?
We started with really actually focusing our efforts on the accounting ecosystem was our first set of clients, to be honest. And so we were really focused on showing how we could do valuation, because valuation is such an important thing within the
Yes.
accounting business. But we weren't looking at the holistic, hilariously, we weren't looking at the holistic plan of like, how can we actually use this as a tool to increase the wealth overall? Because we could say, hey, make sure that you're looking at your numbers and understanding where you could grow your business. And growing the business was obviously very important. But what we weren't looking at was how can wealth managers help with that? So when we moved into the wealth management space, it actually had to change our story a little bit, because the terminology that we're using was different. And wealth advisors don't understand how to do valuations themselves, which is totally understandable. It's not their expertise,
Not their thing.
but they benefit massively from them. So that, and then their clients benefit massively from them. And the client relationship there is also, you may go to your accountant, for a yearly review or something like that. And that would be an important time to do it. But you're probably closer in a relationship with your wealth advisor because they are very much holding your purse strings. So we thought that bringing that, the idea of making sure we're taking care of our business owners and being proactive and saving time for the wealth advisor and the accountant, because we're saving time for the accountant too. So saving time was kind of always an underlying piece of brand, but having the idea that we're unlocking these valuable interactions really is one of the things that was like, oh wait, now you know more and you're going to grow more. So unlock it, put it on the table on a silver platter for you to deliver to your clients and help build that trust relationship with your clients. So that's where we're really looking at basically driving opportunities for growth and drawing attention to what matters. Those are the key things that we want to really be bringing out to advisors of all kinds: banking, wealth, accounting. So those are the brand promise, I suppose, that we're really working from.
Yeah. I appreciate the fact that you guys have broadened that scope and are embracing that, because obviously that's a feat in and of itself. Once you specialize in one area, to then say, well, we've got more that we need to do, I give you credit.
Well, and it's interesting because like talking to almost three different demographics, like when you look at it, banking, wealth, and accounting, they approach it differently. And
Yep.
so we have to find a universal way on our homepage to talk about it. And then we have our kind of three segmented personas on the individual pages of accounting, wealth, and banking. And it's not always easy from a branding and marketing perspective, right? And then understanding, okay, you have to figure out where you're going to burn your time the most. It ebbs and flows a little bit. And I think depending on the time of year, accountants are very busy at certain times of year. Wealth managers are very busy at certain times of year. Bankers are, I feel like they're kind of busy always. So we shift our year and where we put our efforts depending on which demographic we're talking to as well.
Yeah. So how do you go about that challenge of when you have multiple audiences creating that first initial landing page? Because I could imagine, to your point, there are different vocabulary words and whatnot. There are different buzzwords that hit for each group. So is it a matter of, well, in some sections or in some places we speak to the accountant, or do you have to speak to everybody all at once?
Yeah. So what we try to do is position the biggest brand win that we do. So really that the idea of unlocking valuable interactions and having a global statement, but then we drill it down. We kind of get below the fold and then we say, okay, for banking, for accountants, for wealth, right? So that from a SEO perspective and all those types of things, we're still getting that language in there. And then when we break it into the three sections, we use their vocabulary a little bit more within the homepage. And then I use more globalized testimonials even, just kind of so that people feel like they can connect, but it's not directly to them. Now, if I'm using targeted ads and stuff, I'm bringing them right to the landing page where I'm speaking mostly in their language. But we all recognize that organic interactions happen. People just Google you, they land on your homepage. So it's not the easiest for sure. But the beauty of the three is that they still get each other. They're not somebody who's selling tube socks and somebody who's selling cellos. They are still within the same sphere. So the language can be understood by all, which is really key. And the nice thing is that within our team, I have ex-bankers, CPAs, CBVs, and then also financial planners and stuff, people who have all those backgrounds, so that I can say, hey, from your viewpoint, do you get where I'm going? So I do a lot of bouncing off of my colleagues as well, so that I can make sure that it's still resonating from their point of view.
Very smart. So one of the things that I love about you, and there are a lot of things, but one of them is the fact that I feel like you're so authentically yourself online. And that's even within the brand of Intervals. You shared one of the things that we were discussing before the podcast is you just got into progressives. You've also shared that you're a wedding officiant. So on the one hand, I could see someone saying that's like my private life and I need to keep it private, versus just saying, look, this is who I am, love me or hate me, this is it. So how did you go about deciding to do that?
Well, I mean, one of the key things is that we all know thought leadership is so important today. And so where it kind of started was, I am just who I am. That's not ever going to change really. But when it came to thought leadership within the organization, I was like, hey, I just put my content out there and I get great pull because I'm who I am and I'm authentic and I talk about backcountry camping and all kinds of other stuff. And then I also talk about our brand. And when I will call them personal posts, get more leverage, it pushes all my posts up. So we kind of looked at this as a group effort, a collaboration of the whole team. And I said, like, look, just start writing. Just start writing your own stuff. Write your stuff about the company too. Run it by me. It's cool. Figure out how you can write your own authentic language for reposts and all that stuff. And then I created a brand document and I said, if you're talking about the brand, frame it in this way, give the people the tools on how to do it. And so our whole team is, if you look at a lot of the players on our team, we're all kind of doing what I do. Like, I'm not unique at Interval by any means, because we're all trying to be authentic, live our lives a little bit more out loud. And then with our own authentic voice, talking about the brand the way that we do. I have a little bit more of a like creative and let's just cut away from the bull, right? I tend not to lay it on too fluffy by any means, but that's not necessarily going to be the way that our some of our success people are going to talk, or our CPAs, right? CPVs are all going to have their own language. And I think that I think it's important for everybody to be themselves. Like, why bother being anything other than yourself? But from a brand perspective, when we look at what thought leadership does and how it actually moves the brand forward, well, if more people are engaging with your content and you are being authentic and you are authentically talking about your brand with your authentic voice, like let's talk about authenticity, it resonates more with people. And then you get more eyeballs on it and more people see your brand, right? It is more than just talking about progressives, I suppose. That's one of the things. And being a wedding officiant is one of the things. I'm lucky to have interesting things to talk about sometimes, I suppose. But I also recognize that if people want to listen to what I'm talking about with our brand, I have to use that same voice.
Yes. Absolutely. So not that I should preach, but it feels like for the firms, the financial advice firms that, won't even let somebody like a post or post themselves because it's just too much of a hazard. I understand that there's compliance, but also obviously this is working very well. So just saying, maybe it's something to think about.
Well, and I think that there are tools you can put in place too. There's process that you can still allow this and cross your T's and dot your I's. Anybody can put together a Monday board and say, okay, Karen, I'm dropping in some content. Can you approve it? Yep. Go ahead and post it. That's a simple way of doing it. And then of course, there's other tools that you can utilize to make that happen. It's possible. You just have to be willing to go there and willing to understand that if you try it, it might actually work, right? But so many people, fear is one of those things that drive a lot of decisions. And I think that that's one of those decisions that often get driven by fear of the unknown.
Well put. So if anybody's listening to this and they're saying, gosh, I wish that my brand were at the place that Interval is and where it's going, what would be some advice that you would have for them?
I mean, authenticity, I think, is going to be the number one thing and I'm sure you've had many guests say like living who you are, I think, is the important thing, and understanding what your brand is actually all about. What is your mission and vision? What are you trying to accomplish? And is your voice actually doing that? And are you moving the whole train together to do that? Right. So, every company has employees, or at least one, otherwise it's not a company, right? Sure. So what are the employees saying and projecting, and when they're sharing your content or speaking at an engagement or on the floor at a trade show, are we all talking from the same playbook? So figure out your playbook and then teach your team how to use it.
Yes. Which sounds just such straightforward, like, of course, that's exactly what you do. So I give you credit for putting it out there as authentically and honestly as that, because I think that takes away some of the fear for people, because it just seems like this massive undertaking versus just, okay, brainstorm, figure it out, and then do it.
Work with your team too. I mean, when we were working through this whole process of how do I teach the team how to live authentically online, the CEO was part of that conversation. You got to do it from the top, or it's not worth it, because if not, the people at the top are not doing it and actually engaging. Like, I mean, if I wasn't doing it, but I expected everybody else to do it, well, that's not going to work, right? So having people who are the most important voices at the table be engaged and be part of that conversation so that they also are on board, and then empowering everybody to do it, right? Giving them the tools, giving them lots of support, because in the end, what it does is it strengthens the whole brand. So it's worth the time from a marketing seat to actually help the team globally use the brand, give them the tools and teach them how to do it, and then just see the success from it.
Yeah. And if anybody has any question, you've been so kind to share time and whatnot. Not that you also have a million things going on in your life. So I don't want everybody to hop onto this bandwagon, but I'm sure that you would also be kind enough just to chat with somebody real quick. So please take advantage of all of her great knowledge.
Yeah,
Karen, thank you so much for doing this.
No worries. Hook up with me on LinkedIn, anywhere, anybody. It's fine. I'm pretty much an open book. So come play in my sandbox. It's fine.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Great job.